Welcome to Table Bible Studies with Den and Ben. New studies are posted every Thursday. Dennis and Benedicta recently completed a study of Ruth, where we were introduced to Ruth's kinsman redeemer, Boaz. In this study, we're going to learn about Boaz's family tree. Specifically, we're hearing about his mom, Rahab of Jericho.
Today we are doing a prequel, which means we've already done the study of Ruth, but now we're going back before Ruth ever happened.
Wow.
And we're going to learn about Boaz's mama.
Yeah.
Or you might say Ruth's mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
And we don't know if Ruth ever met her mother-in-law or not, because Boaz seemed to be a bit older by the time they got married. So she might have been dead, might not. We just don't know.
Well, they didn't talk about her, during the Naomi, Ruth, and Boaz.
In the story, there is no mention of her at all. But, when you read the genealogies of Jesus that are listed in Matthew and Luke, it's in Matthew's gospel that it mentions Rahab, and a guy named Salmon had a baby named Boaz, who ended up marrying Ruth, and you go down the line a few more generations, and lo and behold, here comes King David. So we've studied Ruth already, and it's a fascinating story, but a lot of people don't stop and think about Boaz's mama. She had a pretty powerful story herself. And, if there's a lot of titles people can get, like Benedicta the preacher or Dennis the Bible teacher.
Yeah.
Her title officially, which is not one a person would want, is Rahab the harlot. That is what she is referred to in the Bible once or twice. And apparently she was a prostitute, but she didn't stay one. She ended up reforming and marrying a man named Salmon. So we're going to go to where we are introduced to Rahab.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. It goes all the way back to Joshua invading the land of Canaan, and specifically the city of Jericho. Jericho was the city where you probably remember from your Sunday school days, the Israelites marched around the city seven times. And then Joshua said, "Shout," and the walls fell down.
Yeah.
Now, God had given his people, the Israelites, specific instructions, and that is they were supposed to go into the land of Canaan and slaughter the inhabitants and take it over. Sounds kind of savage, but life was rather savage in those days.
Help us, Lord.
Now, you remember when Moses went into the land of, or he attempted to go into the land of Canaan initially, when they first brought Israel out of Egypt.
Yeah.
Within less than 2 weeks, they were right there on the edge of Canaan. Moses sent 12 spies. They came back. 2 of them gave a good report. 10 of them said, "Oh, these guys are giants. We look like grasshoppers. They'll kill us all." And so they scared everybody, and everybody's like, "No, we don't want to do this." And so Israel had to march around in the wilderness and camp in the wilderness for 40 years. So now here they are again. Moses is dead. Joshua is now leading Israel, and it's time to try it again. 40 years later.
Wow.
And I think Joshua must have surely remembered what happened with Moses and the 12 spies. And so he said to himself, "Well, it didn't work very good with those 12 spies. I think I'll just send out 2 spies." And I have a feeling he checked them out very carefully, made sure they were quality men, brave men, courageous men, not a trace of fear in them. And so he sent out 2 spies to go into Jericho and look over the city and check out where they were. This was their entryway into the land of Canaan. This was the first city they were going to take. They had lots more to take, but they were going to start right here in Jericho.
They were really taking a lot of cities,
They really did. So, chapter 2 of Joshua, and this is just the very first book of the Old Testament after the Torah. Moses wrote the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Now comes Joshua, the story of Joshua. So, verse 1, Joshua, the son of Nun, that doesn't mean he didn't have any parents. That's N-U-N, which means his daddy's name was Nun, sent 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. Check out this land. So only 2 go this time. It says in the next verse, they came to the house of a harlot named Rahab, and they lodged there. Now, she was not an Israeli. She was not a Jew. She was one of these Canaanites, the people of the land. And you might find it odd that they would stay with her, why she would allow that.
Yeah, I know. Knowing that these people are coming for something that will be hurtful to the land, and then did you swear to your land that you protect the land? And, report all the spies.
Yeah.
And now she's, kind of harboring all the spies.
She's being hospitable to the enemy is what she's doing. And you can get in big trouble for doing that.
I was thinking that you can get in trouble with the, government if you do that.
Back in those days, and even still today, if someone were to do that, if we had an enemy that was about to attack and invade us, and they sent some spies to America to kind of check out where they were going to invade, and we put them up and served them a real nice meal and took care of them, and they'd be like, what are you doing? These are our enemies. But we're going to find out why she does this.
Okay.
And the king heard about it. This was in the town of Jericho. And the king of Jericho, the leader of the city, we might call him the mayor today, but in those days they were called kings, a localized king. He heard some men have come here tonight from the children of Israel to search out the country. Now, they knew what Israel was up to. They had gathered across the river. And they were getting ready to invade, and these people knew it full well. They were preparing for battle, and suddenly the king is told, there's a couple guys from the Israelites have come over, and they're checking it out, and they stayed with Rahab.
Wow. So
he's not real happy about that, but he wants to get hold of these guys if he at all can.
Not just those guys, the lady of the house is going to just follow them into the jail cell or something. That is the prison time.
Yeah, he's not real happy with her, I'm sure. So anyway, he sends some men, perhaps soldiers. He says, bring out the men that have come to you who entered your house. They've come to search out all the country. They're here for our destruction. They're not here as friends, as buddies, as ambassadors. They're here as the enemy wanting to do away with us all. And that's exactly right. But look what it says in verse 4. The woman took the 2 men and hid them. So she hides these men, and we're told how she will do that a little bit later.
Okay.
And so the king's men that came to her and said, we want these guys. She said, well, yeah, they came to me, but I didn't know where they were from. And she's lying here. She didn't know exactly where they were from. She says, and when the gate was shut, apparently the gate to the city of Jericho, when it was dark, the men went out. In other words, they left my home. And where they went, I don't know. But if you pursue them quickly, you may overtake them.
Just run as fast as you can.
You better get out of here and go look for her.
Because start running down the road.
She must have been a good liar. Because they believed her.
Okay.
So, she puts up a good story.
I think she convinced them a whole lot.
Yeah. Who? Me? What? No, these guys, they came, they left.
I just gave them water off they went.
So she says, I don't know where they went, but you might be able to catch up with them if you go real quick. Then we find out what is the real story in verse 6. It says she had brought them up to the roof and hidden them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order on the roof. Now, I looked up the idea of flax in the old days. We eat flaxseed today.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a diabetic's friend because it's got so much fiber, it barely raises blood sugar. And I eat regular flax meal, and then there's another kind called golden flax meal. But chances are she wasn't gathering all this flax for them to eat. They made linen with it, believe it or not.
Okay.
And, in the Old Testament, the priests would be clothed with linen garments. And linen was kind of like considered a valuable crop, or a valuable material, rather.
Okay.
So she had a bunch of flax on her roof. Now, most of the roofs in those days, they were not the roofs of today where they come to a point and they slant down so the water can run off.
Right.
They were flat roofs, because you could do more with a flat roof. If it got hot downstairs, you could go upstairs, you could sleep on your roof. Or if a visitor came, you can put him up on your roof, put up a bed. Remember the lady, I think it was Elijah, that would come by, and she admired him as a prophet, and she fixed up a little place on her roof.
Right.
And she put a bed and a little table and a lamp. And so that was obviously not one of the slanty roofs like we have today. It was a flat roof that you could do that kind of a thing.
Right.
In fact, it's interesting. One of Moses' laws, and you could call it God's laws because God anointed Moses, was that with your flat roof, you had to put a kind of a fence around the edges of it or some kind of a protective barrier so people wouldn't just fall off your roof if they're up there.
Oh.
So that was a rule for the Israelites. Anyway.
And God hid them. Removed the mindset of, the Jericho men that came to look for them. They didn't start searching all over the place and up to the roof to see if anything is really hiding up.
Well, that's right. Had they searched carefully, I'm sure they could have found them. But like I said, she was probably a pretty good liar. It's like, oh, no, these guys are gone. I mean, they took off. As soon as the gate was about to be closed, they sped out of here. But if you hurry, you might be able to find them. All right. Thank you, ma'am. And off they go.
Yeah, they were in a hurry, I guess.
Did you ever wonder why YouTubers are always asking you to like, share, and comment? It's not really that we're all egotists and we love to have a lot of positive reinforcement. It's because we know that the YouTube algorithm keeps track of these things and rewards videos that have a lot of viewer interaction by promoting them to other people. So when people go to YouTube, they'll find that video near the top of their feed, and in turn, these videos will become more popular still. So if this channel has been a blessing to you, help us out by clicking the thumbs up, making a comment, and sharing it with someone you think might benefit from it. Thank you so much, and God bless you.